Advanced network analysis, we're going to talk about crashing a project. This one will save you the most money. You've got a project, it's going to go too long, you need to shorten it. Typically, you get 10% of the money you save. So if you can save $1 million on a large project by shortening it and doing it in a cost-effective way, then you typically get 10% of that. And that's not something to sneeze at. So let's look at what it normally costs to do a project. If you look at the crash cost or crush cost is more expensive than the normal. So if you look at the cost normal, you're going to see that it's cheaper to do it without throwing extra resources at it. And you can only shorten it from the normal time to a certain time. It doesn't go to infinity. You can't shorten it to no time. It's going to take time for concrete to set before you can build on it. It's going to take time for glue to dry. It's going to take time for circuit boards to be fabricated, to develop the software. It's going to take time to do that. You can throw more resources at it, but you can only shorten it a certain amount of time. And if you look at that, the time between the cost, crash time, and the normal cost, you're going to look at the difference. So let's say on this one that the cost slope, it's a negative slope. Let's say that this is $18,000 to do it. The crash cost, the normal cost was $9,000. So there's $9,000 worth of difference. Okay? And you divide by the number of weeks, moving from 8 weeks to shorten it to 5 weeks. So that's 3 weeks difference. It costs you $3,000 a week. So that's the cost slope. It's usually negative. It's going to cost you money to shorten a project. And if you look at this diagram, you're going to see these, like 9 weeks for A, 9 weeks for A here, that's the normal time. Crush or crash time is 6 weeks. Because it's $2,000 per week, you can't shorten it past 6 weeks. It just doesn't, you can't shorten it past the shortest time you can do the task. The concrete to dry, again, you can only shorten it a certain amount. So don't try to shorten one or make it longer. Okay? It just doesn't work that way. So what you want to do is take these times here and replace them all the way through here. So if you're looking at this and you shorten a project, so I've got all these times and I replace those with the shortened times. So I've replaced the 9 with 6. I've replaced all of them through here. And I put the shortened times in. Now, when you look at that, then you look at all the paths through the same paths, ACF, ADG, BEG, through this project. So ACF is 15 weeks. ADG, 14 weeks. And BEG, 10 weeks. Now, if I shorten everything, it's going to cost me $104,000. It shouldn't cost that. It shouldn't cost that much to do that. You could spend $104,000 to do it, but you can do it cheaper. And the way you do that is you find that longest one through here, and it's 15 weeks. A crash project can't go shorter than the longest time, the critical path through the project. I can't shorten it past 15 weeks. I don't care how much money I spend on it. Can't do it. So now, why does ADG need to be 14 weeks? I can make that longer, right? So I could look here and I could go ACF is 15 weeks. ADG is 14 weeks. And BEG is 10 weeks. All right. Now, I can't change any of these, A, C, or F, without making this longer, making the critical path longer. So I can't change A in this one. But let's see, D or G, I'm looking at D, and that's a $5,000 a week, or G is $5,000 a week. I'm going to make D, because if I make this one 1 week longer and save $5,000, will that help me that much? No, what it'll do is it'll make it, it's got two paths through it. It's got ADG and BEG through it. So I'm really saving $2,500 there. I'd rather just make D longer, keep that the same. So I'd change this one to 7 weeks. I'd change D to 7 weeks and save $5,000. Now ADG is 15 weeks. I can't change ACF because it's 15 weeks, or A, D, or G because that's 15 weeks. We got two of them 15 weeks. Which one is left? Well, I've got BEG. Now I can't change G because that would make ADG longer. So in B and E, how much is that? So B and E, how much? This is at BEG equals 10 weeks. If I make B longer, let's say how much can I make that change? I can make that from 5 weeks to 8 weeks, 3 weeks, and save another $9,000. Oh, that's cool. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's make B from 5 to 8 and save $9,000. Now, it only cost me $90,000 to make it 15 weeks. Oh, but I could still make, that still leaves me a little room with E to make a little longer. I can save that 2 weeks and make that 5 weeks. So, hell, that's cool. I went from 3 to 5. Now everything's 15 weeks. So the total cost is $86,000 instead of $104,000. Does that make sense? So I've saved from $104,000 to $86,000. I get 10% of that, typically. That's a lot of money. So you want to look at a cost. You're going to have penalties and you're going to get incentives. Typically, the incentive is never enough to crash your project unless you're trying to get some points in something. So the penalty sometimes is cheaper than crashing the project. So sometimes if I'm paying $2,000 a week penalty, I'm going to take the penalty rather than $5,000 a week to shorten the project. So saving money is a good thing. Look for the best way for the least cost for what you're doing.